Blood, Loyalty, and Betrayal, Episode 2 of Tulsa King Season 3 wastes no time pulling us deeper into Dwight's dangerous world. Every move he makes is like playing chess in a city full of hidden enemies. And in this chapter, the board shifts in ways no one could have predicted. The episode begins with a heavy atmosphere, as if the city itself is bracing for what's coming. Dwight walks through Tulsa with a sense of command, but also with a shadow of unease. His reputation has grown, and with that comes both respect and danger. Everyone seems to know his name, but not everyone says it with admiration. Some whisper it with fear, while others mutter it with resentment. This early sequence sets the tone. Dwight isn't just trying to build an empire anymore, he's trying to hold it together before it slips through his fingers, right away. The writers remind us of the cost of leadership. Dwight is confronted with the reality that every decision he makes leaves ripples. When he meets with his crew, the tension is clear. Some of them are hungry for power, eager to push further, while others are quietly questioning if they're already in too deep. This moment isn't just about words exchanged in a dimly lit room, it's about loyalty being tested in silence through glances and hesitations. You can feel the weight on Dwight's shoulders as he realizes he can't afford a single weak link in his circle. But what makes this opening section powerful is not just Dwight's presence, it's the subtle reminder that enemies are always lurking. A rival faction is hinted at, and while they don't make a direct move yet, the threat is alive in every frame. This is the brilliance of the episode's pacing. It builds suspense like a fuse being lit, waiting for the explosion. By the time this part of the story settles, we're left knowing that episode 2 isn't about small steps. It's about major shifts in the game of survival. As the story moves forward, Dwight's world grows more complicated. On the surface, he looks calm and in control, but underneath, you can see the cracks forming. His empire in Tulsa is no longer just about collecting money and maintaining order. It's about managing egos, balancing trust, and preventing betrayal. In this episode, we see how fragile that balance truly is. The tension begins when Dwight sits down with his closest allies. The meeting feels less like a casual strategy session and more like a battlefield of unspoken doubts. His crew, the very men who once looked at him like a savior, now begin to show hesitation. Some of them wonder if Dwight's old school methods can keep up with the modern world. Others question whether aligning with him is worth the risk. It's subtle but powerful, the way silence lingers before they answer his questions, the way their eyes shift when he mentions bigger plans. For Dwight, these moments are louder than any words. This is where the writing shines. Instead of showing us a violent clash right away, the episode plays with psychological warfare. Dwight knows that once doubt starts spreading in a group, it becomes poison. One of his men suggests expanding too quickly, chasing bigger money. Another argues for caution, warning that pushing too hard will draw unwanted attention. Dwight listens, but his face hardens. He realizes that no matter which path he chooses, someone will feel left behind. This is not just about building a criminal operation anymore. It's about holding together a family built on fragile loyalty. Outside the crew, Dwight's problems only multiply. Rivals are watching his every step. In one scene, the camera lingers on a rival figure making a quiet move in the background, almost like a shadow ready to strike. The show doesn't need to scream danger. It whispers it. The rival isn't rushing. He's patient, and patience in this world is far more dangerous than rage. It means someone is calculating, waiting for Dwight to slip. At the same time, Dwight's personal life bleeds into his empire. He struggles with the weight of trying to be both a leader and a man who longs for something more than constant battles. A small interaction, maybe a phone call, maybe a memory, reminds him of what he's lost and what he's still fighting for. This isn't just a gangster story. It's the tale of a man caught between who he was, who he is, and who he still hopes to be. The city of Tulsa itself becomes a character in this episode. Its streets, its bars, its quiet corners, all seem to echo the tension Dwight feels. You can almost sense that Tulsa is watching him, testing him, seeing if he can tame it or if it will consume him like it has consumed so many before. Every conversation, every glance, every step feels like a test of Dwight's resolve. By the midpoint of the episode, the suspense reaches a breaking point. A confrontation brews, not necessarily with fists or guns, but with words that cut deeper than bullets. One of Dwight's closest allies questions his judgment openly, and for a moment, the air turns heavy. Dwight doesn't explode. He doesn't yell. Instead, he leans into silence, letting the weight of his stare remind everyone who he is. It's a chilling reminder that true power isn't about shouting commands. It's about commanding respect even in silence. But even as Dwight holds the room, the cracks are clear. His empire is strong, but it's not unbreakable. The whispers of doubt, the lurking enemies, the heavy past pressing down on him, all of these forces begin to collide. And episode 2 makes it clear. The storm is only just beginning. This section of the episode builds a sense of unease that grips the viewer tightly. We're not just watching Dwight's rise, we're watching the possibility of his downfall take root. Every decision he makes feels like a gamble. Every alliance feels temporary. And every look over his shoulder reminds us that in Tulsa, even kings can bleed. The calm before the storm never lasts long in Dwight's world. And in episode 2, the storm finally begins to show its teeth. The episode takes a sharp turn here, shifting from quiet tension into open conflict. What makes this moment powerful is that the danger doesn't come crashing in all at once. It seeps in, creeping slowly until Dwight and the crew realize they're standing on unstable ground. The first true turning point arrives when Dwight receives unsettling news. A rival gang has made a move that can no longer be ignored. It's not an outright attack, but it's something worse, a calculated provocation. They're testing him, poking at the edges of his empire, waiting to see how the so-called King of Tulsa responds. The writers use this to brilliant effect. Instead of giving Dwight an easy decision, they present him with a choice that feels like a trap no matter which way he turns. If he retaliates too hard, he risks drawing heat from law enforcement and the public eye. If he holds back, he risks looking weak. And in this world, weakness is a death sentence. This is where Dwight's character shines. He doesn't panic. He doesn't rush into violence. Instead, he studies the situation like a chessboard. His eyes, his silence, the careful way he processes each move, it's a reminder that he's not just a thug with muscle. He's a strategist, one who knows that the most dangerous weapon isn't always a gun, but patience. Still, even with his steady hand, the pressure is suffocating. For the first time this season, we see Dwight caught between his instincts as a leader and the pull of his personal demons. Meanwhile, the rival presence grows stronger in the background. They don't need to step into the light to make their presence felt. Their influence is everywhere. A quiet deal here, a paid-off contact there, whispers in the streets that undermine Dwight's authority. It's like watching roots spread underground, unseen but powerful, preparing to crack the surface. Episode 2 makes it painfully clear. Dwight isn't just facing one enemy. He's facing a network of them, and they're willing to wait for the perfect moment to strike. The tension boils over in a pivotal confrontation. Dwight finally comes face to face with a key figure from the rival side, and the scene is nothing short of electrifying. There's no gunfire, no fistfight, just words, laced with venom and power. The rival speaks with confidence, hinting at moves already set in motion. Dwight counters with the weight of his reputation, but for the first time, we sense that his reputation alone may not be enough. The air between them is thick, every pause loaded with the possibility of violence. It's one of those moments where you can feel the stakes rising, where one wrong word could ignite a war. Neither side is fully ready for as the confrontation ends. Dwight walks away, but he doesn't walk away with victory. He walks away with the realization that the rules of Tulsa are changing. His old ways might not be enough to keep him on top. This is the true turning point of episode 2, the moment when Dwight, the seasoned gangster, begins to understand that he might not just be fighting to control a city. He might be fighting to survive in it. The climax of this section is not loud or explosive. It's unsettling. The rival doesn't strike immediately, but the threat lingers like a storm cloud overhead. The episode makes you feel the dread of waiting for the first drop of rain, knowing the downpour is inevitable. And Dwight, for all his strength and cunning, can't stop looking over his shoulder. For a man who once commanded absolute respect, that vulnerability is haunting. This is what makes the episode to stand out. It doesn't just show Dwight in control, it shows him shaken, tested, and forced to adapt. The enemy isn't charging at him head-on. They're circling, tightening the noose, and leaving him with fewer moves each time the board shifts. By the time this section closes, we realize that the Tulsa King is no longer playing on his own terms. He's playing a game where the rules are being rewritten, and the clock is ticking faster than ever. By the time episode 2 nears its end, the air in Tulsa feels heavier than ever. Every choice Dwight has made through the hour begins to circle back to him, like shadows creeping closer in the night. What makes this final stretch gripping isn't just what happens on screen, but what the episode leaves hanging in silence. It's the quiet moments, a phone left unanswered, a look exchanged without words, a door closed a little too firmly, that hit the hardest. Because they remind us that the storm Dwight has been trying to hold back is no longer on the horizon. It's here, waiting just outside. The closing scenes begin with Dwight returning to his crew, but the sense of unity is fractured. The men who once stood firmly behind him now feel like pieces scattered across the board. A few remain fiercely loyal, but others look like they're weighing their options. The earlier cracks have widened, and Dwight knows it. His speech to them is sharp, filled with steel, but also with a trace of desperation. He's trying to keep a family together that no longer shares the same heartbeat. In his eyes, you see a man who refuses to bend, but deep inside, the fear of betrayal gnaws at him. And then comes the moment that changes everything. A sudden reveal, subtle but devastating. The rival crew isn't just a rumor anymore. Their move isn't just whispers in the alleys or deals in the dark. It's real, it's visible, and it cuts directly into Dwight's operation. Whether it's a stolen shipment, a trusted ally switching sides, or an ambush waiting in the shadows, the episode makes it clear. Dwight's empire has been breached. What was once his unshakable foundation now has a crack that threatens to split wide open. The scene is crafted with precision. The lighting, the pacing, the camera work, it all builds an atmosphere of dread. And when Dwight realizes the truth, there's no explosion of rage. There's only silence, the kind that carries more weight than any gunfight. It's the silence of a king realizing his throne is no longer as secure as it once was. That silence becomes the cliffhanger, pulling the audience into the uncertainty of what's next. But the brilliance of this ending lies in how it blends personal stakes with power struggles. This isn't just about a criminal empire losing ground. It's about Dwight as a man, a leader, a father figure, a survivor facing the possibility that everything he's built could crumble. His enemies are not only external. They're within his walls, in the shifting loyalty of his own crew, in the doubt that lingers in their eyes. The cliffhanger isn't just about what the rivals will do next. It's about whether Dwight can keep his house from collapsing before the real war even begins. Episode 2 also leaves us with themes that echo long after the credits roll. Loyalty versus betrayal. Strength versus vulnerability. The past versus the present. Dwight's struggle is more than physical. It's symbolic. He represents the old guard, a man forged in another era, trying to hold on to power in a world that's changing faster than he can adapt. And the rivals. They represent that change, newer, hungrier, more ruthless in ways Dwight might not be ready for. The cliffhanger leaves viewers with burning questions. Who can Dwight truly trust? How deep does the rival network's influence run? And perhaps the most haunting question of all, is Dwight still the king, or is he becoming the prey? By the time the screen fades, we're left with a mix of dread and excitement. Episode 2 doesn't just end a chapter, it opens a door to something far bigger, hinting that the battle for Tulsa is about to get brutal. It's not just a fight for territory anymore. It's a fight for survival, for legacy, for respect in a city that seems determined to swallow anyone who dares to rule it. And that's the genius of this episode. It doesn't hand you easy answers. It doesn't let you relax. It leaves you unsettled, replaying every scene in your head, searching for the cracks that might break wide open in episode 3. That uncertainty is what makes it unforgettable. The king is standing, yes, but for how long? That's the question that will keep fans coming back.